Imagine walking into an investigation just 1 hour after a shooting. The victim has already been taken away. Officers are still trying to lock down the scene. Witnesses are talking over one another. Reports are incomplete. Some people have already been detained. Others are about to be cleared. Now compare that to the version of events we usually see months later. The timeline is polished. The evidence is organized. The story feels almost inevitable. This hearing lives in the gap between those two realities. Kathy Nestor begins with questions that seem almost administrative. Who arrived first? Who secured the scene? Who knew what, and when? But those questions aren't small. They're an attempt to rewind the investigation to its most uncertain moments, before conclusions had solidified. That's an unusual strategy because it reminds the court that investigations don't begin with certainty. They begin with fragments. The question isn't simply whether investigators eventually reach the right conclusions, it's whether those conclusions can be traced back, step by step, to what was actually known at the time. As the testimony continues, watch how often the discussion shifts from what investigators believe today to what they could honestly say they knew then. That distinction quietly becomes the hearing's center of gravity.
May it please the court, thank you. Good afternoon, Agent Hall.
Good morning.
You and I have met before, but just to remind you, my name's Kathy Nestor. I'm one of the attorneys representing Mr. Robinson. So, when did you leave the SBI?
The State Bureau of Investigation?
Yes.
March of this year.
March of this year?
Yes.
So you were involved in this investigation from September to March, basically?
Yes.
And your new position at Post, what is your new position?
I'm an investigative sergeant.
So you investigate potential wrongdoing of police officers?
Correct.
Okay. So when you were first brought into this case in September, is it my understanding from your testimony that you were not engaged in any way with this event prior to getting a call after the shooting? Is that correct?
Correct.
Does the SBI on occasion assist other agencies with preparing for big events like this or not? Is that not typically something you do?
Not something that I've ever been involved with, no.
Okay. And what time did you arrive on campus that day?
I believe it was shortly after 1:30.
So approximately an hour after Mr. Kirk had already been removed from the...
Approximately, yes.
Okay. And were you involved in putting up any drones into the air? Were you part of that, or were you not involved?
It's not, no.
So how quickly after you arrived on scene did you become aware that you were actually going to be in charge of the scene?
I believe it was approximately an hour after, so what would have been approximately 2:30.
So for the first 2 hours, you were not in charge?
For the first 2 hours, I wasn't. I didn't arrive till 1:30, so no.
Okay. And once you came from on high that you were basically going to be in charge of the scene, what was your first priority? What were you focused on?
We were focused on, through our major crimes team and our lieutenant, putting together an investigative team and developing initial assignments and a plan as to what we were going to do moving forward.
And part of that is protecting any potential forensic evidence that may be found on the scene. That's clearly important, right?
Correct.
Preserving the scene, right?
Correct.
But it sounds like that's not really your area. That was more maybe Agent Falmina's area.
Agent Falmina was assigned to process and document the crime scenes. It was my understanding that the known scenes at that time, amid the chaos, had been contained and had been secured by the on-campus officers who were already on scene.
And what's your understanding of what the known scenes were? In other words, the area where there might potentially be evidence that you needed to process.
I know that the amphitheater area was cordoned off and managed as best it could with the number of people that were there. I was also made aware that there was a rooftop area that had been secured and also an area off of the side of that building that had been secured by an officer.
And that building was the low-C building?
Correct.
Wasn't there also a bullet found on another building?
I believe an unfired bullet had been found on another building at some point during my time there on September 10th, yes.
Which building was that, sir?
I don't recall.
Was that considered a scene that was worth preserving?
It was not. My recollection is that that was accounted for as an ejected cartridge from an officer who had cycled his rifle.
Okay, I thought you said it was an unfired bullet, and now you're saying it was a cartridge?
When a weapon is cleared, an officer would make his rifle ready, which would chamber around.
Oh, I got you.
My understanding was that that's how that was accounted for.
So an officer claimed that bullet belonged to him or her?
That's my recollection, is that was how it was accounted for.
And when was that accounted for?
I don't know specifically.
Do you remember what type of bullet that was?
I don't.
Was it a 30-06? Do you remember?
I don't.
Okay. Do you know where that bullet is now?
I don't.
Okay. So you had the amphitheater area that had to be preserved. And how far out did that stretch? The entire amphitheater or just the area around the tent or what?
My understanding was the entire amphitheater area was cordoned off, and there were attempts to secure the campus itself with a perimeter of officers who were monitoring or preventing people coming and going.
When you arrived on the scene, were you aware that an individual had been taken into custody?
I had heard that, yes.
Did you ever have any interaction with that individual?
I did not.
And were you advised at any point that that person was no longer a person of interest?
Information was passed down that the individual was not considered to be a suspect in the shooting.
And when was that, time-wise?
I don't recall specifically, but I know I was on campus when I had heard.
So whoever arrested him as a potential suspect got that wrong. He wasn't the actual suspect, right?
Sorry, got what wrong?
That he was the shooter.
The person I believed to be the shooter was not the individual who was taken into custody, correct?
And then was there anybody else taken into custody as a person of interest?
There were several people who were detained for questioning and who were interviewed throughout the investigation.
And none of those people were they were all ultimately cleared by you or somebody connected with you?
Correct.
And were there any other guns confiscated on the scene that day?
There were other firearms that were located on the scene, yes.
How many guns were confiscated that day?
I don't know specifically confiscated, but I know that there was a firearm found in a backpack that was accounted for during the day.
What type of firearm was that?
It was a handgun.
Any other guns that were found on the scene?
Not that I recall.
Do you recall an individual named Noah Gonzalez being interviewed?
I don't recall that name specifically.
Let me see if it refreshes your memory that he was an off-duty, I think maybe trooper that was on the scene that day and that was involved in recovering the holster. Does that refresh your memory?
I know that a trooper was interviewed having been on scene. I don't recall if it was Gonzalez. I don't recall the name, but I do know there was a trooper that was interviewed, yes.
Okay, and just a moment, Your Honor. And do you recall the trooper that was interviewed saying that there was actually a gun found in that holster?
I do not.
You do not?
No.
Okay. Can we pull up? Exhibit Hole 13 and just show it only to the witness for right now? All right, can we go to page 2 of that report? Do you recognize this report? Have you reviewed it as part of your investigation duties?
I do recognize the report now, yes.
Okay, and this is a report prepared by actually Mr. Davis, who's going to testify later in this matter. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, and on page 2, this is the interview of Noah Gonzalez. Is that right?
That's what it stated on page 1, yes.
And he's an off-duty trooper who happened to be there that day?
Correct.
And do you see on the second paragraph, does that refresh your memory about whether Trooper Gonzalez believed there was a gun found in a holster in that area of the amphitheater?
Trooper Gonzalez included in his report that there was a gun, yes.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. When did you first personally go up to the roof of the Losi building? Do you remember the time of that?
I don't recall. I know it was dark when I went up to the roof, so it would have been later that evening.
And at the time you went up there, there was already crime scene tape that had been placed around it?
There was an officer standing security.
Right. And to your knowledge, as the head of the investigation, did they ever find any bullets or casings anywhere on the Losi roof?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Did they ever find any bullets or casings anywhere around the Losi building?
When you say around the Losi building, do you mean how close? Like immediately around the Losi building?
Correct.
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay. And then you've been talking a lot about a timeline here that seemed, you talked about it when you were watching the video, but you also talked about the fact that you developed a timeline, is that right?
Correct.
And can you pull up hole 1, please? I'm pulling up on your screen your report that you prepared. Do you recognize that?
I do, yes.
And what's the date that you drafted that report?
Looks like September 14th. It says date created.
And that's the place where, if you could go to page 2, please. Do you see down at the bottom where you summarize Sergeant Bricker's report listing the timeline?
Yes.
Okay, and so it was actually Sergeant Bricker that prepared the timeline, is that right?
He prepared a timeline.
And you incorporated that into your report?
No, I created a timeline.
You created your own timeline?
Yes.
Separate from the one that's in this report?
Yes, using information obtained in the investigation.
And when did you create that timeline?
Over the course of the investigation, over a long period of time, after a lot of reviewing video and investigative time.
So, as of September 14th, Tyler Robinson had already turned himself in to the authorities, is that right?
Yes, I believe he turned himself in on September 11th.
So, prior to the time that Tyler Robinson turned himself in, had you all prepared a timeline?
A documented written timeline?
Yes.
Not to my knowledge. I don't know when Sergeant Bricker produced his specifically.
And isn't it fair to say that as of the moment that Tyler Robinson voluntarily surrendered to authorities in Washington County, as of that moment, you all did not know who the shooter was. Is that right?
We had identified a person of interest, but we did not specifically know who the shooter was at that time.
Okay.
There's a subtle contest unfolding here, and it has very little to do with courtroom theatrics. The defense repeatedly narrows broad conclusions into precise questions. Did you actually see the gun? Who identified that object? When was that explanation documented? What did the video itself reveal? Each answer forces a separation between observation and interpretation. That matters because our minds naturally connect scattered details into a coherent picture. It's how people make sense of chaos. Investigators do it to solve cases. Journalists do it to explain events. All of us do it in everyday life. A courtroom, however, demands something more disciplined. It asks whether each link in that chain can stand on its own before it becomes part of the larger narrative. Notice what the defense is really testing. Not whether the investigation produced a theory, but how each piece of evidence contributed to that theory. If one link is weaker than it first appears, does it change the strength of the chain, or only our confidence in it? That's a much deeper question than whether one object looked like a firearm or whether one witness remembered a detail. It's a question about how certainty is constructed from incomplete information.
And you became aware that Mr. Robinson was voluntarily surrendering how? How did you become aware of that?
That information came originally, I believe, from the Washington County Sheriff to the administration at the control center at the university on the evening of the investigation,
Okay.
or the second evening of the investigation.
All right, we're going to get back to that in a minute, but I just wanted to get the timeline down. All right, now I want to go back to the videos that we've seen and the question that I just asked before, which is it fair to say that nothing about the video of the individual on the roof revealed to you, you couldn't see facial features, you couldn't see what they were wearing, correct?
Of the individual on the roof?
Correct.
I know that there was a meeting to discuss perhaps a pattern on the front of the shirt that was observed when the individual was jumping off of the roof.
Okay, that's fair. But at that time, as of the 11th, before Mr. Robinson turned himself in, you all had not been able to determine that, is that right?
Excuse me. Determine who he was, or
No.
determine distinguishing features?
Determine distinguishing features of the video
Yeah.
of the person on the roof.
Yes, we had a person of interest, and those images were released to the press.
You're talking about the ones in the stairwell from the
Correct.
from the parking garage.
Correct.
But the video on the roof was not distinguishable. Fair.
That video as a standalone
Yes.
was not, no.
Okay. And in fact, the video on the roof, well, strike that. Is it true that you had some spectators that you interviewed that had gotten a photograph a few seconds before the shooting of someone on the roof?
Sorry, I'm not sure I understand the question.
Did you, at some point in your investigation, collect from two young men who were present at the event a video that they had taken of someone on the roof about 10 seconds before the shooting?
Yes, a video, yes, not photographs. A video was collected from an individual who had a video.
And ultimately, some screenshots were taken out of that video, is that right?
By
you?
Not by me, no.
Okay. That's fine. It could have been someone else.
Okay.
But did you see the video that those young men took?
If you're referring to the video that is looking north and shows an individual dressed in dark clothing on the corner of the roof,
Yes.
if that is the video, I have seen that video, yes.
Did you review the interview of those young men?
I did not.
Do you know how they described the person on the roof?
I don't know if I read it or if I heard it, but my understanding was they believed it was Overwatch or some kind of a police Overwatch for the event,
Okay.
if that's my recollection.
And do you remember anything specific about the person's build that they discussed when they described the person on the roof?
I do not know.
Okay. There is a portion of the video after the individual jumped off the roof, which we all saw here, where the individual crosses, I believe it's Campus Drive. Is that right?
Correct?
And there's a moment where the individual waits and there's two cars that pass in front of him, right in front of him.
Correct?
And is this the moment where you are submitting that he was holding a gun in his hand?
As you cross the road?
Yes.
From my observations, would show that he's carrying an object in his hand that's concealed or in a bag, and it is long and has the appearance, based on my training and experience, it could be a firearm.
But do you see a gun anywhere? The actual gun?
In the video?
Yeah.
No.
All right.
One word quietly changes the scope of this hearing. Yes. Not because it proves one side right or wrong, but because it reminds everyone in the courtroom that they're looking through a very narrow window. Throughout this cross-examination, the defense has focused on the evidence the court can see today, the roof video, the timeline, the witness statements, and the investigator's recollection. But that final exchange reveals something easy to overlook. Investigators weren't working from a single clip or a handful of exhibits. They spent months reviewing a much larger body of material before reaching their conclusions. That doesn't automatically strengthen the prosecution's case. It also doesn't erase the questions the defense has raised. Those questions still matter because every piece of evidence presented in court has to withstand scrutiny on its own. What's interesting is that both sides are asking the court to view the same investigation through different lenses. The defense keeps narrowing the focus, examining each individual link in the chain. Investigators are asking the court to consider the chain as a whole, after months of collecting, testing, and connecting those links. That's a tension you'll find in almost every major investigation. Detectives build a complete picture over time. Defense attorneys pull that picture apart, one piece at a time, to see whether it still holds together. And that's why this hearing matters beyond this single case. It's not just testing what investigators concluded, it's testing how those conclusions were built, and whether every step along the way can withstand the same level of scrutiny as the final story itself.
And did anybody that was driving by on Campus Drive that day report to you or any other investigative entity, hey, we just drove by a guy with a gun who was leaving campus and he was standing right by my car?
We did not receive any reports to that effect, no.
Okay. Also, when you were revealing the timeline, exactly how long was there between when the person was prone on the roof and when the shot was taken? Do you recall?
If you would like to replay the video, I can time it for you, but I don't recall. It was my guess, I would estimate between 15 and 30 seconds.
So between 15 and 30 seconds to lay flat, take a shot, and get up and run off, right?
I think you asked how long he was prone.
Right.
I think it took longer for him to crawl into position.
Okay.
And then establish a position.
Oh.
And then take the shot. He appeared to be in prone for approximately 15 to 30 seconds, but the video would verify that.
Okay, thank you. All right. I want to talk to you for just a minute about the video that was taken. And I'm not going to get into I'm not going to show it, just so that in case anybody's concerned about leaving the courtroom, I'm not going to show it. But there was a video that was taken by Mr. Ty Phillips from behind the individual that was speaking to Mr. Kirk.
Correct.
And it showed like a dead-on view of Mr. Kirk and his parts of his security team. Is that right? And then you also have video that you described that shows the back of the tent at the moment the shot happened. Is that right? Behind Mr. Kirk.
Are you referring to the UVU video in the breezeway?
Yes.
We have that video, yes.
Okay. And can we pull up the last video, the last clip, 49? I want to show you, just you, this clip. That is a little clip from that video under the breezeway that's behind the tent, right?
Correct.
And just to be clear, this area behind the tent would not have been visible to anybody that was on the Losi building. Is that fair?
I can't answer that question.
Yeah, sure.
And Ms. Nestor, as you're playing this, are you just being cognizant if the sound is on or not?
I don't want the sound. Please.
Okay, I just wanted to
Thank you for bringing
clarify.
that. Thank you.
All right.
No sound. I just want only the witness to look at it. So can you just watch this clip for just a minute? This one little clip of behind the breezeway at the time of the shot.
That's fine. And so just as a reminder to all the parties, if it's on your monitor, please be cognizant of that. It will not be displayed on the main monitor. Ms. Nestor, you may proceed.
Thank you. Is it playing? Do you remember that? Does that refresh your memory of what's in that clip?
Yes.
And having reviewed that, at the time the shot was fired, there was no one standing directly behind the tent. Is that correct?
You'd have to show me it again. I wasn't specifically looking for that.
Okay.
But I can answer that question if I can view the video again.
Okay. And just before you do that, I think you testified before that Mr. Kirk would have been dead center behind that banner. Is that right?
Approximately.
Okay, so what I'm asking is if anyone behind that banner, dead center behind Mr. Kirk, if there was any people standing there. Go ahead.
So there's a videographer on the right side of the tent, and then I can only see as far as the video allows me to, so I can't speak to whether there's anybody out of frame who could have been behind the tent.
But what you can see, is there anyone directly behind the middle of the tent?
Yes, there's a videographer stood behind the tent.
To the right?
Yes, behind the tent.
Correct. But directly in the middle of the tent, is there anyone standing?
There's no one stood in the middle behind the tent, no.
Thank you. All right, I want to talk now about the TP. You can take it down off of the screen. Thank you. I want to talk now about the TPUSA video that you got. That was the angle that was taken from behind Mr. Kirk while he was talking, looking out at the audience when the shot was fired. Do you remember that video?
The visual impulse videos?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Is it true that Visual Impulse provided 4 videos?
Yeah, I believe there were 4 total videos that encompassed everything that they provided to us, yes.
But the one that you showed, that's only one of the 4 that they provided to you?
That one that was shown had a Bates number. It was an item that was provided by Utah County Attorney's Office.
Okay, but were there more that you haven't seen in this courtroom, in this prelim, that you got from?
There's the original footage.
Okay. But were there other angles that are not shown here in this prelim?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I was trying to get